Listen to these two sentences and tell me which one you think sounds more natural. I'd like to go to the store. I'd like to go to the store. Which one sounds more natural to you? Let's find out today on the Accent Journey. Welcome back to the Accent Journey, the podcast for non-native speakers of American English who want to sound clearer, more confident, and more natural when they speak. I'm Steve Nelson, an American English accent coach with AccentFirst.com. Last week, we talked about reductions in casual speech. When we say words like gonna, wanna, and gotta that are common in everyday American English. Today, we're going to explore something that's even more common. It happens in almost every sentence you hear. And we're talking about weak forms. This is kind of a throwback to an earlier episode of the Accent Journey. Back in, I think, episode 6, we talked about the importance of stressing the right words in a sentence. But this is the other side of that. Which words we don't stress and why. Here's a question for you, getting back to my original question at the start of this episode. When Americans say, I'd like to go to the store, do you think they pronounce every word with equal emphasis? Usually not. That's because words like to, for, of, can, have, and was often become much shorter and quieter than you might expect. These are called weak forms, and they're one of the biggest differences between careful English and natural conversational English. And once you start hearing them, you'll suddenly understand why native speakers sound the way they do. All right, so what are weak forms and how do we identify them? Well, English has two kinds of words. First, there are content words. These carry the main meaning of the sentence. These are usually nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. And then we have function words. These are grammar words that connect everything together. They're words like to, for, of, can, have, was, are, at, from. And in connected speech, these words are usually unstressed. This means that instead of being pronounced carefully, they become softer, shorter, and often change to the schwa sound. Do you remember episode 1? All the way back to episode 1. The schwa is back. Let's start examining this with one of the most common words in English, to. In careful speech, this sounds like to. In everyday conversation, it's ta. Listen. I want to leave. Native speakers rarely say, I want to leave. Instead, they say, I want to leave. Or, I want to leave, as we talked about last week. All right, repeat after me. I'd like to help. We need to talk. She's going to work. It's time to go. Notice how small the word becomes. And then there's the word for. In careful pronunciation, we say for. In connected speech, we say for. So repeat after me. Thanks for coming. This is for you. I'm looking for my keys. We waited for an hour. Again, the vowel turns into the schwa. Another one is the word of. When we say it carefully, we say of. But in connected speech, of. Listen and repeat. A cup of coffee. A lot of people. One of my friends. The end of the movie. Notice that you almost don't even hear it. And then there's can. This one surprises many learners. When can is positive, it's usually weak. I can help often sounds like I can help. But when it's negative, I can't help, the word becomes strong again. This contrast helps listeners hear the difference. Let's practice. I can do it. We can wait. She can come. Negative. I can't do it. We can't wait. He can't come. Notice the stronger pronunciation in the negative forms. Why this matters. Many learners pronounce every word with equal force and stress. For example, I want to go to the store, as we heard at the beginning of this podcast. Every word sounds equally important, but native speakers don't do that. Instead, they emphasize the most important words. I want to go to the store. The content words. The small grammar words, t, almost disappear. This creates the rhythm we've been talking about throughout this podcast. All right, let's do some listening practice. I have to finish my work. We need to leave now. I'm looking for my phone. A piece of cake. She can help. Can you hear how the important words stand out clearly and the smaller function words are reduced to their weak form? Let's practice some dialogue. Repeat both roles. Can you help me? Sure, I can help. What are you looking for? I'm looking for my glasses. Do we need to leave now? Yes, we need to go. Would you like a cup of coffee? Yes, I'd love a cup of coffee. Read the dialogues again, and this time, let the little words become lighter. Don't force them, just let them relax. Now let's finish with today's shadowing passage. I'll read it twice, the first time slowly and the second time at natural conversational speed. I'm looking for a new apartment because I'd like to live closer to work. I can walk to the office in about 15 minutes, and that gives me more time for exercise before I start my day. At the end of the week, I like to meet a few friends for dinner and relax before another busy week begins. I'm looking for a new apartment because I'd like to live closer to work. I can walk to the office in about 15 minutes, and that gives me more time for exercise before I start my day. At the end of the week, I like to meet a few friends for dinner and relax before another busy week begins. The text for this passage will be on our website at accentfirst.com/podcast or in the show notes for this episode. When you read it, focus on three things. Make the content words strong, make the function words weak, and let the rhythm happen naturally. Don't try to pronounce every word equally. That's not how conversational English works. Here's your challenge for this week. Choose a podcast, YouTube interview, or television show. Listen for 1 minute and write down every time you hear words like to, for, of, can, have, was. And ask yourself, were those words pronounced clearly or were they reduced? You'll see quickly that native speakers use weak forms all the time. Let's review the key takeaways for today's session. First, function words are usually unstressed in connected speech. Second, they often contain the schwa vowel. Third, content words receive most of the stress. And fourth, weak forms create the natural rhythm of American English. If you remember one thing, don't stress every word, stress the important words, and let the small words stay small. That's one of the biggest secrets to sounding natural. Thanks for joining me on another episode of The Accent Journey. This podcast is brought to you by Accent First Speech Communication Services, and it's hosted by me, Steve Nelson. Drop us a line at info@accentfirst.com, and don't forget to subscribe wherever you get podcasts, leave a review, and also a comment if you're listening on YouTube. Our music is Hypnosis by Vondra D. Until next time, keep listening, keep practicing, and remember, sometimes the quietest words make the biggest difference.